it's a little bit of a rebranding as Actors Audition Club right now. However, we have been running this membership since 2017 and helping actors with their auditions since 2017. So although it's newly branded as Actors Audition Club, this is not a new thing. We've helped hundreds of actors. We have dozens of members here. So we want to just share some case studies. We've worked with people who are brand new, just starting, like they just go start acting classes, then they land an audition, or people who don't even have an agent and they just need to get something on camera. So they book a session, come in, do a monologue, do a scene on camera so that then they can show an agent, land an agent, or they have something to show a casting director, or they have something to show film school, a theater school to actually get into the classes, to all kinds of people in that range. So we want to share some of those case studies. Brandon, you're going to share the screen. So this, he's one of our favorites. He was here today. Chris Sanderford is a hilarious stand-up comedian, one of the nicest guys ever, and he has been crushing it in a year where a lot of people's life got put on tilt. I would wager to bet that in 2020-21, Chris Sanderford has had the best year of his career, landing a bunch of roles. You may have seen him on What We Do in the Shadows. Here in Canada, you might have seen him on Murdoch Mysteries. You might have seen him on Cavendish. And recently, drum roll please, the trailers are out. He's got a big, fat, juicy part in the Hollywood blockbuster Moonfall, starring Halle Berry, an end-of-the-world Armageddon type thing, where I think the moon is going to fall into the earth. And Chris Sanderford, he was just down in LA doing his red carpet premiere, gala premiere press junket. And then he was back here in our studio in Toronto today. And one of the most thrilling things of our lives here is we were here helping him with that audition like a year and a half ago, mid-pandemic. And we're helping him run scenes. And we're going like, ooh, what if you tried this here? Oh, what about what if add this little button? Or what's your moment before? Make that a little more importance, or speed that line up a little bit, or slow that down. Step forward and give yourself a nice little close-up there. All these little tips and tricks. And I mean, he's brilliant to begin with, and he always comes in here with great ideas and so much creativity. He's a brilliant actor. Anyone who knows him, you love him. He books like crazy. But we had him on the podcast a little while ago, and he talked about his experience here at Laughing Vikings.
By myself, and I didn't have like a wall or whatever to put things up on. And it's tough to count on just a friend. And it is weird. As much as I'm sitting here saying, make it fun for yourself and just do it for yourself. You should be able to act in front of anybody, turn the spigot on and off or whatever. But it's also good to do everything you can to make the experience just easier to get into. So for me, literally, I think it was Jackie Pirico that recommended you guys to me like ages ago. We're like, oh yeah, I always go and have a tape, or some people, they have a certain level of tape that they will tape for. Does that make sense? That they'll go to a facility for. And at the beginning, I was doing that. Like I was going to you if it was like, okay, I think I just don't see a friend being able to camera operate and do this at the same time. Now I'm here all the time. I'm putting every tape down with you guys just because it's just, again, it's getting that out off of my plate. And the more I can focus on just the fun and literally the fun of it, the more I can offset to you guys or Laughing Vikings to take care of like the technical stuff. That's just more random access memory that I have now to enjoy myself. And I mean, how good is it that I can you have no idea what a weight off my shoulders it is, Brandon. Like the other day, friggin', you were going to send me you're going to send me a link, or you'll send it off to whoever it is it needs to go to. And I leave that room, that place on Queen Street, and it's done. I consider the matter done. It's hugely a valuable thing. Like even when I was in Sydney, I found people, but it was like, because I was used to coming to you guys, I was like, no, I can't do this at my hotel or my Airbnb or whatever it is. No, it's been truly invaluable. Before by Laughing Vikings, it was my little flat in Parkdale where I had to do it with the sun, which is not reasonable because in the winter that's crazy. But now it's like it's great. How many times a week am I with you guys? 3-4 times a week. It's like
Probably, yeah.
I can't picture doing this any other way. Truly, you guys have been you've changed my lives. There you go. How's that for
we wouldn't want it any other way, Chris. We wouldn't want it any other way.
And you guys are great. And you guys, again, you make it fun. And I know that I can be really silly. And I don't, whatever. It is, sometimes acting can be embarrassing. It's quite naked. It's quite, you share vulnerable. A lot about yourself.
Vulnerable, yeah.
It's very vulnerable and whatever. And sure, you should be able to do that in front of anybody and be able to reproduce that in front of everybody. But, again, anything you can do to make it easier to get to those places. And you guys specifically, in terms of now talking about the personalities behind, the company, it's just very fun to see you guys and work with you. And you guys usually have a bunch of good ideas. So it doesn't just stop at the technical spots. It's also just fun to come and tape.
Yeah, it's like home field advantage. I always wanted to be like
a
clubhouse, like a basketball player might have his court in the back, or his gym, and that's his workout where he goes into the zone, and here you got yours. So
yeah, truly
amazing.
Yeah, that room, we make a lot of magic in there. We make a lot of the opposite of magic too, but but you know what, you got to take a lot of swings if you want to hit a couple of times.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a good chunk of change coming out of that room too, with all these bookings, whether it's TV, film, commercials, feature films. And
it's worth it if you book one thing. If you go every tape and you book one of them, it's worth it, man. Because then some of that you got to invest back into my business, which is this, and then man, I don't ever question it. Truly, it's an easy decision.
Chris Sanderford. I also should mention, I didn't. He during the pandemic, he booked and filmed. He talked about Sydney. He was in Sydney as a series regular on Melissa McCarthy. That's hard to say. Melissa McCarthy. Melissa McCarthy's new series. I believe it's called God's Favorite Idiot, which if it's not out now, it'll be out shortly. I think they shot a season or 2. So he had a huge year. And thrilling to have him in here. He's such a positive energy, and you can see in that video the type of charisma he has. Who we got up next here? This is another favorite, longtime OG. He's also a stand-up comedian. You've seen him. He played the captain on Bad Blood. He's been in all kinds of sketch comedy shows, and right now he's shooting. Is it a movie musical he's shooting out in Vancouver, Brandon?
It's either it's not Vancouver, it's Belleville.
Oh, Belleville. I thought he was out west for some reason.
Yeah, so did I. But it's Belleville, and it's either a show or a movie. I'm not 100% sure.
And he's also a Canadian Comedy Award winner as an actor and also a director too. He's worked on several one-man shows and brilliant stand-up comedian and just a great all-around guy. Please roll the clip for Phil Luzzi. Phil, how long have you been coming to Laughing Vikings now? When did we meet? I think that's kind of how we've met, just briefly before that, I think, at a stand-up show.
Yeah, I remember seeing your name for the longest time, and then meeting you at a show. And then I started coming to Laughing Vikings because hello, self-tapes, you need them. It's a fun place to do fun auditions because sometimes you're going to get the police captain and sometimes you're going to get a flamboyant Latino bartender. And it's good to just fuck around. It's kind of fun.
Right. Not all actors invest in somewhere to do their self-tape. So what is it that you has found helpful by doing your tapes here? And now you do a lot by Zoom too. So that's a lot that's kind of different.
It is very different. I mean, I like it because, like I said, you build a rapport and then you have a way of doing things. It's like, okay, this is what I need to do, and then jamming, doing a few rehearsals, getting ideas like, how should we start the scene? Or maybe, hey, here, maybe try something where you get an opportunity to show more of your character by doing something, or having that idea, you don't get a chance to do that usually in a real audition, so you might as well take advantage of this strange opportunity we have to experiment. And because we get a lot of chances to do it, it gets better and more fun. You guys always make great suggestions about things to do, either to get into the scene or during, and how to end a scene, for example, things that I hadn't considered really before, like, oh yeah, maybe I should leave with a button because, the scene is kind of like just left, and yeah, we could fade out, but what if something telling of the character you are comes through? Or it's just fun. It's just fun to play.
Right. Yeah, I know that. I think we need to give a shout out to one of our acting coaches, is Tom Todoroff, the conservatory. I've been a member there doing weekly Zoom sessions, and that's all. Like, the whole philosophy is jamming your performances and auditions with as many creative choices as possible. So just painting with as many colors as possible. Nothing is only drama or only comedy. Dramatic stuff has fun moments, and comedy has dramatic moments to it. So and the moment before, and the first impressions and last looks, I think all of that stuff has really been drilled into me from Todoroff's class. And it's just also a language that where we're talking about guideposts, and we're talking about a certain language that you sort of get used to, I think, when we're talking to you, so that when we make a suggestion like, oh, make this more of a discovery, or find an opposite there, that kind of lingo, I think, really helps too. I don't know about what you can add to that, Brandon.
No, you hit the nail on the head, Lars. Like that's what we try and do. Like, especially the moment before. I think the moment before and relationship, especially for auditions, really enhance the performance for your self-tape and or audition. Just because, like, we want to be invited into the character's life. We don't want to just be like, hey, there you go. Ah! Like, that's not appealing. Right. Like, already.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I did this afternoon.
What are you talking about? You invited them in.
Yeah.
That's why we did this. That's why we did the spin. That's why we had the thing. Yeah, exactly. Nice. We had the thing to invite them in, to get them into the performance, to get them to see this character the way you want to portray it. And like, that's why we add props, add something, just so that you have more to do, you have more to play. We always want to make sure that if we're offering up creative suggestions and ideas, that hopefully the idea is always if someone's tape or their idea for the scene, what they were thinking was here, that we give them a few more things to bring it up to here, so that you're feeling with that collaboration and some outside eyes and a little outside direction, that you sort of up leveled your performance and offered up something a little more creative than if it just had been something you did by yourself. Or certainly the thing that I think a huge trap is, anyone who's still doing it with a non-actor family member must just be a nightmare for them to deal with someone who's not used to taking words off the page or having to.
Yeah, and it's not fair to them either. I've done it before, and it's like, ugh.
If you've ever thought about your auditions, like Phil, seriously, that's the test. If you're wondering, like, is this right for me? If you ever got an audition from your agent and went, while you were doing it, then maybe this is a spot for you. All right, up next, this is one of our favorite episodes. Go check this episode out. I think it's one of our most viewed episodes. This is Carolyn Sterling, who's a fantastic agent. With agent and manager with Grand Wave Entertainment. And she's actually Phil's agent. And you'll see Chris Robinson in a few minutes. Several actors from Grand Wave also tape with us. So she's got a great inside view, and she shares some of her opinions on the importance of self-tapes from the agent standpoint. So cue it up for Carolyn.
Something that the pandemic has certainly brought to light is how important it is to have your own setup, or to have a resource that can assist you with those self-tapes, places like Laughing Viking and other self-tape studios. So I would say the importance of self-tape auditions now is fundamental. It can't be avoided. Casting will accept a tape that's done on your cell phone, but you have to try to make it look as professional as possible. And that means good lighting. That means a blank background. That means good sound. And, whether that means trying to find a brief moment in time when the next door neighbor's baby is not crying, or, this has been the challenge. You want to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. I mean, this has been the challenge for so many of our clients, is finding quiet while doing these self-tapes in the middle of a busy downtown. I mean, you're talking about roommates, you're talking about construction happening on the street right outside your door. You're talking about my kid doesn't go to bed until 7 o'clock at night, so I can't get you that tape until 9 o'clock. Like that kind of stuff, has been really challenging for people. We try to accommodate as best as possible. But I would say in terms of doing your own tape at home, fundamentally, good light, good sound, and a good reader. I know that casting accepts self-recorded, my own voice and stuff, but there's just you can't match having that interaction with another person. I think it truly helps your performance if you have somebody that you're bouncing off of.
Right. Yeah. It brings the script off the page, and it brings the characters and the scenes to life versus being a very robotic read, or often it is a family member or a close friend. And if they're a non-actor, it can take double or triple the amount of time just because they have to keep doing retakes, or just at the end. Obviously, the reader is not the important person. The actor on screen is the important person, but you can't help but hear the other person. And if they're butchering their lines or they're really slow and choppy, I'm sure it's hard for casting to get into that tape and to feel good about it.
Oh, totally. And I mean, look, at the beginning of the pandemic, when casting was accepting tapes, people were working with what they had. We didn't quite understand, how to do Zoom auditions yet. We didn't, none of that. So people were just like using their roommates or using their family members or like using their moms. I've received some quite adorable tapes of like, 60, 70-year-old parents reading the roles of kids and reading the roles of love interests, and hearing from clients being like, that was the most awkward self-tape I've ever had to do. Like, so, it's been a challenging year, I think, for sure. But I would say the good thing that's come out of it is it's shown people that they can sort of take the reins on this element, this aspect of their career. You can be in control of your audition and submit what you want casting to see. At the end of the day, is casting going to cast you from, an iPhone audition that's not centered, that's in the dark? I can't really hear you because the sound was off or whatever, or there's a jackhammer happening outside, that kind of stuff. That fundamentally is what you have to be considering, that the source, who's going to review this.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. And I think a lot of it comes down to first impressions too, is regardless of the total performance. If the first impression is, oh, this seems like an unprofessional tape. And I'm sure casting, I mean, hopefully they watch most of them from start to finish, but I'm sure based on time, they realize a few seconds in, this is not quite cutting it. And then they move on to the next one potentially. Mm-hmm. So it's those first impressions. And we have a ton of people that come here that, like you say, they love self-tapes because now they do have the control. They have the extra time to really perfect it and craft it and make sure it's the take they want. Whereas the usual in-person auditions, you walk in, you get one take, maybe if you get lucky, you get a retake, and you might already know in your head, be like, oh, that wasn't the one. And then it's okay, thanks. And then you're out the door, after traveling an hour and a half across the city.
I traveled halfway across the city to like spend 5 minutes with somebody. I think the nerves too of doing in person, much can be alleviated when they're able to prepare this self-tape, and especially if you have several days to a week to do it, bless, that's the best.
Have you ever had tapes that come in where you have to tell a client, because of quality or because of a reader or anything like that, that I am not going to submit this, we need you to retake this and take another crack at it?
Of course. I mean, this is part of the reason why I encourage the clients to send it to me rather than have them just upload it to casting themselves, because it's good to have that buffer, somebody to review it. And not just because obviously I'm very interested in how people are progressing and what their performance is, but I mean, there's been a few times where a client has flubbed a line at the beginning of the scene and started over, but like been like, and then had to start over. I'm like, well, we can't send this. Little things like that. But having bigger conversations about, I think you missed the mark. This wasn't quite hitting the comedy notes that I think this particular production is looking for. How about you go back and try it again, throw in a little improv, see if you can like make it your own voice. Notes like that. It's like, oh, remember, this is a Hallmark MOW. You don't need to take it quite so seriously. It's supposed to be fun, that kind of stuff.
Right.
I disagree. I think you should take Hallmark as seriously as possible.
Snap, snap, snap. Yeah, I love Carolyn. And again, one of the most fun things here is we send the tapes, the files directly after doing the sessions directly to the agent and or casting. And so often we get, especially from Carolyn, because she's amazing, but from many agents, we get, oh, love this, great tape, hilarious, thanks for the help. And that's amazing. As every actor knows, you don't always get feedback, but when you do, it's really valuable. And your agent is one of those people that you want on board with you, and you want them feeling good about your auditions. And you also want them trusting in you to deliver, because if they're fighting for you to get into a casting director room or via self-tape to be seen, you don't want anything in the back of their head like, am I going to make a pitch to this huge casting director and get you seen by them, and then you deliver some wonky thing with your grandma reading and a jackhammer? No jackhammers. That's the main thing. That's one of the main lessons today. Unless it's a jackhammer scene where you're a construction guy, no jackhammers, no cats, no jackhammers.
Only one exception.
All right. So our one of our other testimonials here, he's a studio regular with Actors Audition Club. He previously, a few years back, won the $25,000 grand prize for the SiriusXM Top Comic competition. He's performed at Just for Laughs a few times. And recently, it must have been, I think he booked it maybe around 6 or 8 months ago. It is now coming out. He's got his first lead ensemble role in a sitcom comedy on Crave called Pillow Talk, which I believe, if it hasn't come out, it comes out this week. So this is Chris Robinson. You can check him out on Crave as one of the stars of the new series Pillow Talk.
Well, before I was still working a day job and everything like that while trying to do auditions and things like that. So since the pandemic, whenever I get an audition, I have way more time to actually just put into it, more effort to put into it, which is great. And then, I don't know, doing it at home or at a studio is just way more relaxing and more comfortable and more conducive to how I like to work, And so I feel like I've been getting way more response since this than, going into live auditions. Because I just get too in my head sometimes, like I don't know what it is. I just, when someone's sitting there and they're just like, I don't know what it is. Like I try and be comfortable as I can, but sometimes you can't do it. But yeah, with working with you guys, it's been sick, man. Brandon's like, I legit thought he was like an acting coach. Like I remember like working with him just because he gives me so many amazing suggestions and like always takes it to another level. I always say that he adds the salt to the dish. It's like,
thank you.
Salt. It's like you can have the best dish that you have and be amazing, but you're like, oh, but it's missing salt. This is trash.
Not only does he add salt, he adds the pepper, he adds the spices, some hot sauce, a little turmeric. Get all the spices in there.